I'm Georgia Suranovsky, a mission interpreter for the Synod. Mission interpreters visit congregations and share stories about how their mission support giving is making a difference in the world, how that generous giving is doing God's ministries in the Synod and throughout the world with the ELCA. The story I'm going to share is about God's Garden of Grace. It's a wonderful story in a small town, Plainfield Township, which is near Wingate, Pennsylvania, but it's filled with hope and promise and so much more. Let's watch. A third-generation produce farmer, Jim Stump, started as a boy pitching in on his family's farm. He moved into management of a large corporate farm as an adult and eventually made the dream of working for himself a reality because he bought his own farm. In 2011, he attended a 4-day educational event hosted by the ELCA World Hunger. Soon after, he was motivated to begin a community garden. He went back and spoke with the social ministry committee and with other church leaders at St. Peter's Lutheran Church in Plainfield Township, which is near Wingate. He wanted to create God's Garden of Grace, a place that would supply fresh food to local food banks. Jim's initial spark created a blaze that quickly spread, and soon God's Garden of Grace was embraced by both the members of St. Peter's Lutheran Church and by the entire community. This small venture by St. Peter's in Plainfield Township was spearheaded by Jim, but quickly became a community effort involving and inspiring other organizations and residents. A contractor even supplied them with a 3,000-gallon water tank for irrigation, and the fire department comes up to 3 times a week to fill it. When I visited the garden, there were about a dozen people picking and doing other chores. They were getting ready to plant some grass which would hold the ground into place for the rest of the year, and they had just planted some new broccoli. I was glad to even see several youth working right alongside with the others. The garden has almost doubled in size since its first harvest. This year, the estimated harvest will be between 10,000 to 12,000 pounds of produce that will support 4 food distribution outlets. Jim told me that tomatoes have not produced well this year, but squash has overproduced. He said you just never know what crop will be the winner for the year. Since the expansion of God's Garden of Grace, Jim also uses his own property to grow crops for food bank distribution. He has 120 fruit trees that yielded up to an additional 5,000 pounds of produce last year. It was harvested by food stand owners and food bank volunteers. The dream that he had for many years became a reality and families were being fed, but he had even a bigger dream. He began to work with people from other congregations and communities that wanted to start their own community gardens. Jim worked with many different community leaders, and 6 new gardens were created. God's Garden of Grace received a grant from the Synod Witness and Service Ministry team early on, but it wasn't long before it was subsidized solely by St. Peter's and its members, and is now entirely funded and supported by the community. Jim told me, "We have become self-sufficient in that we don't require our own social ministry to support us anymore. This garden and this mission only exists because of the great volunteers that help it and make it happen. And for that I thank them. God still sends the sun and the rain and the warmth. Volunteers commit their time and energy to planting, weeding, and harvesting food. Food banks continue to find places where the food can be used to support families that need it, and the hungry are fed. Thank you for being part of this ministry. You see, it's through your mission support giving that grants like these are available for new gardens to support families with good, fresh produce. We are blessed with your bountiful harvest, O Lord.